All right, today we're gonna build a computer, but it's, even though it's using all these what look like gaming parts, it's not gonna be used to play a single game, at least not as far as I know. This is actually gonna be a workstation computer. We're gonna talk about the specs behind it, who I'm building it for, and why I chose the parts that we chose. I don't very often build computers around here that aren't meant for either gaming or video rendering, but this one truly does fall into that workstation category, and we're gonna talk about that today.
This video is sponsored by Micro Center and their custom PC builder. Use the custom PC builder to plan your next build, and when parts are added to your cart and in-store pickup is selected, you'll have the option for a Micro Center technician to fully build your PC for an extra fee. And if the order is placed at least 4 hours before closing, you can enjoy your new PC the very same day. Get the best prices and parts selection at any of Micro Center's 25 locations across the United States, and right now my viewers can get a free pair of wireless headphones while supplies last, in-store only. To see everything that Micro Center has to offer, and to learn more about this limited time free headphone giveaway, click the link in the description below.
All right, so if you followed my Instagram, you guys will remember the end of last year through the beginning of this year, like a lot of people, we were stuck at home, and I guess all last year, but we ended up doing a backyard remodel. We added a pool. It's my first home I've ever purchased, and so we always wanted a pool for the kids and the family, and we did that. And I became friends with the pool builder, the general contractor himself, and he found out about the channel, and he started asking me some questions about computer parts. And the problem is, a lot of the times when it comes to the 3D software that they use, it can be very demanding. Now, we're not talking like 3D Studio Max and stuff like that. We got some specific software that he sent me links to, like here's the requirements we need. Because one of the ways that they present, and this is probably true for any sort of customized builder, whether it be custom homes or our home was part of a track home, so we didn't really get to change anything there. But when it comes to anyone having to do rendering, modeling, and then presentation, they've got a presentation room that's real nice. It looks like a conference room, but it's all glass, nice table, big TV on the wall that you can look at. They can do flybys and walkthroughs, and they can change things on the fly where you're like, oh, I want the pool to be a little bigger, or I want to move this tree, or whatever. They can do it all in real time. One of the problems with this particular builder was that their designer was having to do it off their laptop. Now, if you've ever tried to do any sort of 3D modeling in real time and re-rendering and presenting at the same time off a laptop, it might work for a little while, but the problem is the software updates faster than laptops can keep up. So it was a little bit, it chugged along, and there was a lot of like, sorry, it's taking a minute, you know, yada, yada. And then when we got to talking about this with the pool builder later on, he was like, hey, so are you interested in maybe building a computer or me commissioning you build a computer based off the specs and stuff that are required for the software? So anyone out there that's a pool builder probably knows exactly what I'm talking about. But the two pieces of software that we're building for today is Structure Studios. And that's the program that's designed to build the houses and they call them California rooms, which are like the detached covered buildings with fans and TVs and all that sort of stuff, fire pits, whatnot. And then we've also got here what they call VIP 3D, Viz Terra, and Pool Studio. And that's where they do all the custom renderings and stuff for, look, here's what your yard looks like now, here's what it could look like. And it's kind of cool because ours ended up looking pretty much like 99% of what the render did. But when we looked at the requirements here, one is more demanding than the other. So what we can basically do in that scenario is just throw out the less demanding software and build for the more demanding software. And then like anything else, they have like a minimum, and then they have a recommended, and then they have like an optimal. So we basically are just gonna build for the optimal here because this is a tool. This is a tool to make money. And when it becomes a tool to make money, it's a better idea to spend more to get higher specs rather than meeting the required or the minimum or the recommended, to go with the optimum. That way it just stays relevant longer to continue making money with this stuff. The requirements here are kind of interesting, and the way that you kind of look at this to try and decipher it is look at the processor first, obviously. That's the main platform. That's going to determine what motherboard you go with. That's going to determine obviously what CPU you go with and what type of memory you go with. Now the processor says Intel Core i7 9th generation or later or greater. So that's clearly 9000 series, 9700K, 9900K or whatever. We're going with the 9900K in this one, even though it says 7900K, that's just the box I stuck it in. The reason for that, this software is not incredibly CPU intensive. Now you might be wondering, Jay, why don't you just go with AMD? Because AMD has better core per cost ratio, you can get more cores, it's got better IPC, especially versus 9000 series. And I'm gonna tell you a quick story here. My car tuner, the guy that tunes my ZL1 that I use on the racetrack, I gifted him a laptop after I gave him a bad recommendation that caused him a problem. So I was like, here, I'll make it right. Here's a free laptop. He basically sent me like, hey, which do you think is better, this laptop or this laptop? Now on the surface, the specs for the AMD laptop, and they both were Asus, like Zenith and, or not Zenith, but Zephyrus and whatnot. They were very good specs. And I was like, well, the gaming side of me was like, I would probably go with this laptop over this laptop because the specs are slightly better for a very nominal amount of extra money. What we didn't realize, the software that he uses for tuning specifically required Intel. Why? I don't know. To this day, I still don't know the answer to that. All I know is I started talking with other people in the tuning industry and they were like, oh yeah, you can't run AMD laptops with this software. You just can't. You can't run AMD period with this software. Something to do with the way the process is, something to do with the way that the CPU interacts with it was causing major problems. Now, when you're an engine tuner and you are traveling around to different dynos to show up, to tune a vehicle that is there, it's strapped down, it's waiting on you, and your laptop won't work, you're costing everybody money. So I learned my lesson with that one. If the software recommends Intel and it does not have an AMD equivalent, we go with Intel. Now, I'm not gonna waste money by going with a 10th gen or even an 11th gen, because I know for a fact that this particular software, the more I researched it, knows that it pretty much offloads everything to the GPU. Now you might be saying, Jay, if it's offloading to the GPU, then why the heck aren't you using AMD? Well, for the reason that I just said, I'm not taking the chance. I'm not gonna take the chance of building this, delivering it, having to load everything on there and start having weird crashing, or because the problem is we were having weird crashing. In the middle of communicating with the ECU, having your laptop crash is a bad thing. Try flashing your BIOS and flipping the power switch. Tell me how that goes. And you don't want to do that with a car. Fortunately, cars will verify before they shut down and restart, usually to make sure everything is good with the image before it'll, okay, here we go. But we're not going to take that chance. If your presentation system's crashing, that doesn't instill a lot of confidence in the builder. That's why we went with Intel. I really wanted to explain that because I feel like people are going to be like, why are you going with a 9900K when you could go with like an AMD Ryzen? That's why. RAM, 16 gigabytes or greater. We're going with 32 gigabytes of 3200 megahertz Trident Z Royal. One, it's flashy. We're building this system with some parts in mind too to also look good in this presentation room. Yes, it's RGB, but I'm gonna set them to like a nice crystal blue to kind of look like water. We'll probably put a little bit of an effect on there to look like waves or something. We're not gonna be doing really any other crazy RGB lighting in this system because the last thing we want is like, okay, let's check out your nice pool, and then the computer's like, no, they can have the party at the pool, not in the computer. Video card, this is the hard one, right? It recommends RTX 20 series or greater. You know it's a demanding piece of software if they're recommending 20 series or greater. I ended up going with the 2080 Ti. Why? Because I've got a few of them and I just don't have that many 3000 series GPUs, and it would kind of be a waste at this point because the rest of the system is gonna stay relevant. If and when things return to normal, he can upgrade to a 3000 series, but the RTX 2080 Ti has 11 gigabytes of VRAM versus the 10 gigabytes of VRAM found on the 30 series. And with the amount of CUDA cores and RT, I don't think the RT cores are doing anything. I think it's truly CUDA that's, or maybe optics, I'm not sure, but that's handling all of the rendering. So an extra gigabyte of VRAM, this will obviously get the job done. We also are going with the Founders Edition cooler because the silver looks nice. It's nice and shiny. And again, this is not gonna be doing gaming and stuff where it's probably not gonna be generating a ton of heat. It's kind of funny. Full load when rendering is not the same as full load when playing games. It seems to be a little bit quieter. The fans don't go as high and doesn't get as hot even though the usage is going high. It obviously depends on the instruction set that it's dealing with. Other honorable mentions here for the cooler. This is the Corsair A500. I know that this has been a cooler that a lot of people have kind of given a hard time. It's not the most efficient cooler out there. However, again, the CPU is not gonna be under a crazy amount of load. This is more or less for aesthetics because again, it's got the kind of a gunmetal-y top piece right there, which will go with the other pieces I've chosen for this build to kind of make it look nice. Plenty of cooling for a CPU that's just gonna be sitting there running the software, not really doing any of the rendering or under load. And it's new, it's not used. I haven't taken it and put it in other systems and stuff. It's a brand new piece. Power supply is the NZXT E850. It's an electronic or digital PSU. This is just because I want to make sure it had plenty of power for everything we have here. It's all black cables. It's not going to really detract from the build by having ketchup and mustard or any of that sort of stuff. For storage, we're going with the Crucial MX500 2.5-inch SSD, 1000 gigabyte. I was really torn on the idea of the 2.5-inch drive versus an NVMe. My idea here is that this is a much simpler drive to replace and or image or copy or clone and expand if we need to later than dealing with M.2. One of the things that I really have to kind of balance here is future-proofing also with ease of maintenance. Because again, any sort of system that's down for maintenance or repair that you use to generate business is lost revenue. And that's not what we're gonna set them up with. We're not gonna set them up with lost revenue. For the case, I chose a Fractal Design Define 7 compact black tempered glass. My hand is stuck, there we go. Because again, it's got, granted it's not the real brush finish like the old like Define 4 and stuff had. It's a simple case. It's got tempered glass, which will look nice. It's got the faux brush finish on the front. And it's just gonna blend in really nicely to the setting. Like I said, I've been to their studio. I know what it looks like. I know that this case will fit in there nicely. I was really debating on going with like the full tempered glass type systems, but at the same time, I don't want anything to accidentally get broken. I think this will be a really good middle ground. It's not too big. It's not gonna take up too much space. So let's go ahead and build it. We'll see how the final aesthetic sort of, oh, I forgot to mention the motherboard. EVGA Z390 for the win. Brand new for this particular generation. I never used this, I had more than one. But again, aesthetics. If you look on the back right here, you can see it's got this aluminum colored shield for the IO on the back, which again is gonna tie in the Founders Edition card, plus the memory, plus the cooler really nicely to give it just a real nice matte black and kind of a brushed / raw metal look to it. So with that said, let's get building and let's see how well I can build a computer that looks nice and isn't for gaming. I know some of you are so mad about that 2080 Ti right now. I feel it. I feel you. You're mad. Well, there it is, all installed. It posted on the very first boot. So what I'm gonna do next, I'm gonna make sure that everything shows up, like all of our memory. We can see we got 32 gigabytes of RAM. It's running at 2133. So next I'm gonna go in and turn the XMP profile, let the RAM speed up. I'm gonna check for things like temperature. You can see our CPU is currently idling at 27C. This is all stock. I haven't changed anything, which is obviously, I'm not gonna overclock this system because I don't wanna introduce any sort of instability. I already explained why, considering the fact that this is a production tool. I'm checking for things like, are all the fans turning? I don't know if you guys noticed, I installed one of the Fractal Design hubs from another case I put in here, and that way all the fans are connected to that hub, being powered by SATA and then being controlled off the CPU header. So I can bring the whole system fan, all the fans up and down at the same time. A lot of airflow coming out the back right now, especially considering the fact that we've got push-pull on the tower, plus the exhaust fan right here, plus the exhaust fan on the top that's pulling anything that splashes out right here up. It's gonna run very nice and cool. We added a few fans. We added the two 120s to the front. So I moved the 140 that was there to the top because this case initially had no exhaust fan on the top and it had the solid panel. The Define S Compact comes with this vented panel. So you can see right there, we've got more ventilation. I wanna make sure that things run nice and cool. This 2080 Ti is gonna live out the rest of its life living its best life by showing people what pools look like. So that's gonna be fun, I guess. But what I'm gonna do next, I'm gonna update the BIOS because this is an older BIOS. We're gonna install a brand new copy of Windows 10. Anytime I do a client build like this, I always grab a new copy of Windows 10 because they need their own key and stuff, and I'm not gonna I don't have any of their Microsoft login information, so I can't log into their account and buy it for them or anything. So we got a brand new copy right here. Gotta get Windows all installed and updated. So if you guys want to know what to do next, if you're like, okay, you built your tower, now what do we do? As you guys are like kind of educating yourself for getting ready to build or get those builds that have been sitting there waiting for a GPU, just like Ford F-150 has been waiting for their GPUs to get up and running. Check out this video we did here that shows you everything to do after you build your tower. It'll get you ready to show you how to get all your updates, all your OS installed, how to get your drives configured, how to get your XMP turned on, all the stuff you would do once you power it on. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I figured anytime we build a system around here, we take you along for the ride, show you some of the rationale behind the parts that we picked. And I think this is gonna look really good in their showroom. Remember, this is a tempered glass side panel. Not really any RGB going on, just the GeForce RTX sitting right there. And then we do have the RGB going on with the G-Skill down underneath the cooler, which you can't even see. I'm gonna change that to white, or maybe blue, like a light blue, like a turquoisey blue. Turquoise because of the color of pools with the white plaster. We'll do that so that it'll just give you a little bit of a glow without being too flashy. So thanks for watching, guys. And as always, we'll see you in the next one. And go and check out that video about what to do next with that.